Today we're going to be talking about the 10 reasons I love C-Class storage facilities. Get ready to take some notes. There's some great things about investing in C-Class storage units. If you'd like to learn more after you watch these videos, go to 511k.com, send us a message at support@511k.com, and we'll get you some of the research that we've done on this industry, on this asset class, and I would love to share that with you guys. So let's get started. So first off, what is a C-Class storage facility? So a C-Class storage facility is a storage facility where it's a single story, right? It's drive up, meaning, you drive up to your actual facility, right? You don't drive in the parking lot and then walk up, 2 flights of stairs to get to your unit. This is where you just drive up with your vehicle. You have a padlock, you open it up, and there you are, right? So there's no climate control. Sometimes they will have some that have climate control, but typically they don't have climate control. They're real basic. So that's what a C-Class is, right? As opposed to, say, for example, an A-Class storage facility where you have like an extra space storage facility where it's a 2 or 3 story building, and it's a totally different business model, right? I mean, not totally different, but it's different. Anyways, let's get back to the C-Class. So what are the 10 reasons why I love C-Class storage units as an investment option? So let's start off with number 1. It's low construction cost, right? Essentially, you're getting the land ready, doing some prep work there, and then you're putting in concrete pads, you're ordering metal buildings, right? You're having them delivered to the site once you have your concrete pads, and then not necessarily, but ideally, and then you hire a general contractor to come and assemble them, right? Pretty basic, pretty simple. You can make it a little more complicated by adding, some other stuff, but that right there is enough, right? Ideally, you want to add some electricity, and we'll get to that here in a moment, but it's pretty basic. It's not like building an apartment building where it's super complicated. I mean, there's so many factors to consider. If you're going to do, we're doing a condo hotel deal right now where we're putting 2 parties together, right, to make that deal happen. And that's complicated, right? 5-story condo hotel deal, very complicated, tons of stuff to take into consideration, where this is real basic, low construction costs. So that's number 1. Number 2, you have a low expense ratio. And the reason you have a low expense ratio is because you don't have all the plumbing issues, right, that you would have with a big apartment building. You don't have all the electrical issues. If you do bring in electricity, if you do bring in plumbing, it'll be real basic, right? You should, for example, if you bring in plumbing, there's not much to it, right? A restroom, maybe 2 restrooms, and that's it. And then maybe a couple other minor things if you have some RVs, but it's real basic. It's not like, a 200-unit apartment building where, the complexities of that are not even worth going into, but you know what I'm saying. Same thing with electricity, right? You either have no electricity with a C-Class facility, or you have very little electricity, right? So you don't have all the issues with stuff going wrong and having to hire electricians. You also have little to no landscaping. So it'll be your choice if you want to have some, but if you do have some, it'll be minimal. But it won't be like if you have a real nice, like say for example, community of apartment buildings where you have a little park there, a dog park, you have sprinklers, that people can break when they're either, playing sports or just, walking by, right? Or you have all these decorative flowers and, there's all these different expenses related to landscaping that you should not have with a C-Class storage facility. In fact, you should not have any landscaping. If you have landscaping, it'll be more like just dry landscaping, right? Just rocks and stuff like that, boulders and stuff like that. So anyways, that's number 2. Number 3, you won't have any issues that you would have, say, for example, if you had a duplex, a 4-plex, or just a giant apartment building with regard to in connection with, like, say, domestic violence issues, right? With an apartment building, if, this is not the best example, but, if you had, right, a couple that was having issues and police are called, right, that can get pretty complicated and messy. And if you don't have a property management company, then you're dealing with it. But if you do have a property management company, they have to deal with it to some degree. But if it gets messy to where, somebody ends up being hurt, or they decide to take it out on the walls, right, in your apartment building, right, somebody decides to destroy the apartment building because they're upset at their spouse, or they're trying to kick down a wall because they're trying to get to the other side of that wall, that room, whatever, right? That can get expensive and stressful, and you don't have that with storage units, with C-Class storage units. You should not, right? I'm sure you can come up with a scenario that's far-fetched, but generally speaking, that should not happen. So number 4, you should not have any issues with people either growing or cooking drugs in your facility, right? It can happen if you don't have cameras and good lighting. But if you have cameras and good lighting, that should not be an issue. I mean, yeah, that should not be an issue. Here in Utah, and I know that's an issue across the nation, but here in Utah, it's a pretty big problem, right? With people using houses, they'll rent the house from you and they'll use it to cook meth. And then if that happens, then you have to tear down all of the sheetrock inside the house. That could be thousands and thousands of dollars worth of repair work. That's not the case with storage facilities for a number of reasons, right? Like I said, you have the cameras and you have the lighting, and that should discourage anybody from wanting to do that. But also, it's metal walls, right? Metal walls, concrete pad. You don't have to worry about that. And that was number 1, right? Low construction costs. But this one here is number 4. So you shouldn't have any issues with people cooking drugs and meth and all that stuff in your facility. Number 5. It's your ability to be able to increase the value of that project, right? So in commercial real estate, as you guys probably already know, the value of the property is not necessarily based on, and I say necessarily, right? Not necessarily based on what Joe's facilities, down the street sold for, right? Because it's based on the income. If your facility generates more income, it's worth more. It's that simple. So with a storage facility, you can add multiple income streams. So for example, you could sell, if you have a front office, right? Now, with a C-class storage facility, you don't always have a front office. I think you should. I think it's a good idea, but you don't have to, right? So we're gonna assume that you have a C-class storage facility with a front office. So if that's the case, you can sell boxes, tape, bubble wrap, all these like packaging supplies, right? Moving supplies, ropes, and bungee cords and so on and so forth for good profit, right? You can sell them, you can mark them up more than what the store down the street would sell them for, because of the convenience that you're providing. Same thing with all that stuff. So you can also, if you have enough space, right? If enough land, you can have a U-Haul franchise, right? You can get a U-Haul franchise, and that should produce, easily 5 figures per year, right? NOI, maybe 6 figures, depending on the location, right? So anyways, and they're pretty easy to run, right? It's not like it's a complicated addition to that existing facility, right? To the business model. You can put in a UPS store, right? Also pretty basic. You already have the person there, right? So you have a front office and they're running your storage facility, they don't have 8 hours worth of work to do, right? So you can actually add a UPS store or a U-Haul business, and they should be able to, right, to run both of those. And if you need an additional person, it's still worth it. So as long as the location's good and you have enough people, right, to be able to provide that service to. Also, you can offer, with a C-class storage facility, you can offer electricity to like kind of the higher end units, right, the bigger units, especially the ones that have RVs. And that's an additional amount that you get to charge, right? It ranges, right, depending on where you're at. It could be $30, $40, $50 a month or more, right, for somebody to be able to hook up their RV to the power there, right? And you can just turn that on and off, right? It's just a breaker that you would have access to. Pretty inexpensive to run electricity there, right? We were talking about how you can add electricity to one of these facilities, but it's all real basic. It's not like you have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with 4 breakers that go to it, or 3 breakers that go to it with, or even if it's 2 breakers. But the point is, you have multiple sockets throughout the entire place, and you have all these different things that could go wrong, right? The things that can deteriorate in issues that way. You don't have that here. It's a single power line that goes to these nicer, higher end units. And it's an extra $30, $40, $50, $60 a month that you can generate. So you can also offer winterization, right, for the people that have boats. So you'll have, if you have a C-class, you can have a section of that C-class facility just be open land. And you can have people bring in, right, the ones that don't want to pay for an actual unit to store their RVs, they can just store them outdoors, right? You can have either roofing or no roofing. Same thing with boats. But with the boats, you can offer winterization, right? So don't know if that also applies to RVs, but you can definitely do that with boats. It's just an extra income stream, right? And it shouldn't be too complicated. You can have somebody that you just contract with a local guy that specializes in this, right? And it might not be much, but it's something, right? It's additional revenue, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. So, and of course, there's also the fact that you can increase rents, right? You increase the rents of the facility, right? As demand increases, you increase every year. And that naturally increases the value of the property. So that's important. So that's number 5, right? You can increase the value of that asset. So that's a beautiful thing, and you have all kinds of creative ways you can do that. So number 6 is that you don't have any issues with crazy tenant laws. So what am I talking about? So for example, right, during COVID, right, if somebody couldn't pay their rents, right, and this is not, I'm not saying what's good or bad, I'm just saying, look, from a business standpoint, I'm just looking at strictly from that point, right? You're an investor and you have to make your payment, right, your mortgage payment. And if all of a sudden, right, for one reason or another, tenants are given the right to not pay you because of the hardships that they're going through, well then what are you supposed to do, right? So that's tough. It's tough on them, I get it, but it's tough on you as a business owner, right? And you have this issue with apartment buildings. You don't have that issue with storage units. That did not apply to storage units, right? When that happened back just some years back with COVID. So that was not an issue at all. That's number 6. Here's number 7. It is much easier and smoother to get financing. So there's this type of loan that's out there. It's called an SBA 7A loan. That's SBA 7A loan. And this loan is specifically for buying storage units. It's specifically designed for that. And they'll give you up to a 90% LTV. So they'll loan you 90% of the value of the property, right? So if it's $1 million, they'll loan you $900,000. And if you know how to do creative financing, right, you know a little bit about seller financing and that type of thing, you can actually get the owner to do the 10%. Now you'll have to check with the SBA to see if they'll allow that. But even if you have to come up with the 10% is much easier to come up with than your traditional 25-30%, right? Significantly less, especially when you're talking about these multi-million-dollar properties. Anyways, that's number 7. Number 8, you have sticky clients. And what I mean by this is people might decide to rent a storage unit. And going into it, they might think, well, I'm just going to rent this for a month or 2 or 3. But what ends up happening is the average is significantly higher. I believe the average, and the number will vary depending on the city, the town, and so on and so forth. But I think the average right now is closer to, it's between 1.5 years to 2 years. That's what the average, how long the average tenant stays. And in some places, like I said, it could be lower or it could be significantly higher, which is wonderful. And more importantly, right, more importantly than just the statistics on it, but think about this. If you go to somebody who's paying, right, a family's paying $3,000 a month, right? They have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right? And they're renting this apartment from you. You come to them, you go, hey, we're doing a 6% increase on rents. Well, that's a significant number, right? That's a significant number, right? 6% of 3,000, as opposed to, for example, if you have a storage facility, you increase rents, right, on your units, and your units are $60 a month. You increase them by 6%. That's minimal, right? That's $3.60. That's nothing. So the likelihood, right, that somebody is going to say, well, I don't want to pay that $3.60, and instead I'm going to, grab all my stuff and move to another facility that's down the street. The likelihood of that happening is very slim, right? It's just, so they're sticky clients. You can raise them, you can raise rates within reason, obviously within reason, without getting too much fight back, right? Because you're talking about much smaller ticket item, right? So, but for you, right, as the owner of that business, that additional 6% income stream, right, additional income, increasing your income equates to a significant increase in the valuation of your project. So that part of it is real important. So if you're getting ready to, if the game plan, right, when you buy one of these, if the game plan is to sell it in 5 years, well, if you keep doing that, right, increasing it 6% each year, the valuation of your property after 5 years, right, if that's the game plan to sell it after 5, man, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it depends. I can't give you a number, right? It depends on the price that you're starting with, right? Are you starting with a $2 million facility? Are you starting out with a $5 million facility? But you can do the numbers. So that's number 8. Number 9, this one's important. Automation is so simple. It's so simple and, relatively speaking, inexpensive. So with a large apartment building, right, the automation there is essentially you hire a property management company. You hire a property management company and they'll take anywhere from, 7-8%, and it depends on the market, right? And in some markets it's 10%, right? That's the standard fee, right, for property management. And they'll take care of, quote unquote, take care of everything, right? There's gonna be some phone calls and some emails. Hey, do you approve this $10,000 repair we got to do, or this $5,000 expense that came up, right? All kinds of stuff like that. Where with a storage facility, there's a lot of online companies. Tenant Inc. is one of those, and it's fully automated, right? Their system is fully automated. They take care of everything from beginning to end, all the contracts, all the signing, the marketing, all of it, right? The website, they do all of it. all of it, all of it, all of it. It's hard to find a property management company that'll do all of it for your apartment building, right? They might not do the website. They'll have their own website, but they may not do all those other things that these companies do here, these companies for storage units, right? They're specifically designed for storage units. So once you have a gated keypad at the entrance, right? And then everything else is automated. Somebody wants to rent a unit, all they have to do is go online, and within minutes, they've signed the contract, they've paid their deposit, they've paid for their first month, and they get a code, right? On their phone, all of it on their phone. And they just go and they type in the code into the little keypad, and boom, that's it. You got yourself a tenant, right? So that's great right there. Also with automation, here's another thing. So when you have an apartment building and you have to evict somebody, and by the way, I'm using apartment buildings just for the sake of comparison, right? I think apartment buildings, larger ones, 30 units or more, 50 units or more, I think they're great investments, and even some that are smaller might still be great investments if you have them in the right location and you have the right property management company. But I use this just for comparison, so I'm not bashing on apartment buildings as terrible investments. I'm just saying, I think storage units, a C-class storage facility has some advantages, right? So that's what we're doing here. So anyways, getting back to the automation. So with automation, we're on number 9. If you were to evict somebody, right, because they're not paying rent, and this goes back to the previous one that we were just talking about, right? The ability to be able to, you don't have any crazy tenant laws. That was number 6. So typically, if you're trying to evict somebody, depending on the state, it could take you a month and a half, or a month, or 2 months, or 3 months, or 6 months. If they're good and they know the law, and definitely if there's a pandemic, but if they have a unique circumstance or whatever, like it could take you months to evict somebody like that. Not only that, but if you don't know how to go through the eviction process yourself, you'll have to hire an attorney. And on the low end, you're looking at what? $1,500 maybe to hire an attorney to help you with this. Maybe if he's your buddy, maybe half that, and he wants to just help you out. But even that's still an expense, right? Where with these with storage units, if you have the right company helping you out, part of what they automate is the auction process. It's done all online. You don't have to worry about it. They take care of everything from beginning to end. They have somebody that goes and photographs everything, puts the double lock, and they go through the process. They know the laws, right? So they do everything correctly so you don't get sued, and it just gets auctioned off. You get your money, and boom, you got another unit that's available for another person, right? Somebody that's a good tenant that will pay for their storage unit. So that's number 9. And number 10 is, and in some ways, I've saved the best for last, in some ways. Because I liked a lot of these first 9 that I've talked to you guys about. In fact, there's a lot of real good ones there. But here's number 10, is during a recession, right? During a recession, investors worry, right? If you're in the stock market, you could completely lose everything if your money's in the wrong company, right? If it's in a company that goes under, and if it's in a company that doesn't go under, but their stock drops significantly, you're also hurt, right? And you're hurt big time. And if you're lucky, maybe not too much, right? Like, there's no point to giving you guys specific examples. You know what I'm referring to with 401ks and with stocks and stuff. But you also have, for example, if you invest in office space, during a recession, office space usually hurts. Retail usually hurts. And what I mean by hurts, I mean it's hit, right? It gets hit. Depending on the market, it might be more severe or less severe. But with storage facilities, with storage units, since the 1980s, storage units as an asset class, right? Because for those of you that don't know what I mean by that, is storage units as an asset class as opposed to apartment buildings as an asset class, or stocks as an asset class, or office space as an asset class, retail as an office asset class. So if you compare all of these, storage units have outperformed all of them since the 1980s. Storage units have performed all these other asset classes. And the reason for that, and it could get pretty complicated, right? But the simple reason is this: when things get bad, businesses downsize, people downsize. And if businesses downsize and people and businesses downsize, then it's very common for them to rent a storage unit, right? To be able to put their stuff until they can, they're ready to bounce back and go at it again, right? Go back to, their 3-bedroom as opposed to downsizing to a 2-bedroom, or to go, to buy a house as opposed to renting, right? A small apartment building, a condo, or for a business, right? To go from, you know, when they go from being in an office space, right, and then sometimes they have to downsize where they have to just get rid of their office altogether, and then everybody just works from home, to, you know, when they're ready, right, to bounce back, then they can go back and get their stuff from the storage unit. They don't have to go and buy furniture again and equipment and all this stuff related to that, right? So because of that, storage units do well, relatively speaking, right? They do well during recessions, which is huge, right? Because you always got to be looking at your downsides, right? You're optimistic and you're positive, but you have to look at your downside. So if you're, you know, if you're selling something, some luxury product, right? It's fun when things are great, right? If you got a luxury rental, right? You're doing Airbnb and you got a luxury rental, wonderful, right? People are paying you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a night to come and stay in your home or your condo. But then when things go bad, right? When the economy starts to hurt a little bit, well, the number of people that are able or willing, or, you know, to pay that much, right? To pay $5,000 a night for your place, just got smaller. Not with storage units. Anyways, those are the 10 reasons why I love C-class storage facilities as an investment class. I hope this was useful. If you have any questions or would love to be able to receive, you know, kind of some of the research that supports what I've shared with you today, go ahead and send us an email at 501k.com. Just go to the website and give me a thumbs up on this video and share it with someone that that's thinking about investing in storage units. So anyways, look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Good luck.